today we are, well, last night I did a bit of work off stream, made a whole bunch of list of things to fix, little bits here and there, but we have kind of a game almost. It's just a few little things that don't work here and there. And what I just started doing this morning was making this animation for an arrow falling that's just going to be a bit more like visible. So when an arrow falls from the sky, like it just kind of comes in and it's a bit weak. So I'm going to try, I think about replacing it with this. Oh, just had a thought, which is that, yeah, we should have one more frame at the end, of course, where we don't have any of this. Okay, export that. Falling arrow. Yeah, I mean, God, there's a lot of bloody stuff in this game. It's turned out. Like you look at like Vampire Survivors and stuff, and there's not that much stuff. But I've got a lot of stuff. I mean, there's lots of enemies and stuff, but they all kind of do the same thing. Whereas here we've got all kinds of different weapons and stuff, and yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, but you know, it's part of the fun. And so we've got this arrow droplet, which, as you can see, it just kind of comes in out of nowhere and lands, which is a bit crap, to be honest. Is that using meteor animation? It is. Really? Okay, well, let's just make a new one. So we'll just, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and delete the animator on this. Going to be brave or stupid, whichever one you want to call it. And we're going to, I see, yeah. So then we're going to create a new animation. So we actually want this arrow here would just be at 0, 0, and 0, all 0. And yeah, 1, 1. So we just got this simple little sprite here. And actually the first thing I ought to do, is this rotated? Yeah, this is rotated. We don't want it rotated yet. We'll get to that later. Okay, so first we need to get our sprites that we've just made. So magic effects, I think it's, yeah, magic effects, falling arrow. Chop it up. So the width is indeed 64. The height is, I think, 1,000. Yeah. Okay, slice that up. Okay, and then this should have that, so falling. Is it upside down? Or is the camera's upside down? Yeah. Okay, so it would look like this. Let's create an animation. Assets, animations, magic effects. It's not really a magic effect, but you know. Falling arrow. And we just change the frames and then we'll mess with the timing in a bit. So falling arrow 1, falling arrow 2, falling arrow 3, and then it can sit there for the rest of the 30 seconds before it turns into nothing. Okay. So this is what we'll see. and so that it's just like the arrow appears basically like instantaneously. In fact, that halfway point could be lower, but let's just give this a try. Yeah, I mean it's a bit difficult to tell. Yeah, what we might want is to animate the arrow as a separate object and have the sort of after effect come after. But first of all, we will do, let's turn off animation. So we go 45 so that it is right for the camera, and then it would be 45 in this direction. Is it 45? Yeah, I mean, I guess coming in at a nice angle. Let's say 40. Okay. And it just has the same effect. So why is this switched off? Maybe because we're not using it anymore. Let me check that. So if I go to my projectiles, rain droplets, meteor, yeah, like the AoE effect is switched off. I need to check that. Okay, so I mean that should do that. I'm just going to test this now. So we just go into a match as Beanie, then we use our mana cheat and do our ultimate and see how it looks. But we might still want to see the arrow moving smoothly, even though the after effect is what we're really looking for. It is just going to appear at this point, so we might need to improve that a bit. Gotta load, yeah. So yeah, I did a bit last night. So yeah, that's a big one. I'm going to shuffle that to the bottom because that's going to be horrible. Just even, yeah, I mean, it's definitely happening on sometimes, but yeah. And then so we pick Beanie. And didn't I unlock... Oh no, we lost our... Oh, I guess for some reason it didn't save. Never mind. So there's Beanie. Thought I like did a run and then unlocked a bunch of stuff, but then maybe it didn't save, so I've got to make sure that that doesn't happen to players. Another thing to mess with my head. Okay, well that's way better. The only problem is the animation's looping, so it's looking like there's more than there are. So, but that does look better. I think we might want to make it bigger. So yeah, first things first. Oh, is the animation on the... Oh, never mind. It's not too bad. It should be on the root object, but it doesn't actually make a difference. So this does not loop. And this is, let's say, 3 in size. So yeah, I did play as Sean and it all went smoothly, like, but yeah, then the next one will be playing as Beanie. Oh no, you get to choose Beanie, Rowan or Jack, so you get to choose your next character in the story. That looks way more interesting, doesn't it? Are there too many appearing? But yeah, I mean that is how it would look. It's annoying when it just seems to miss. But you know that won't happen when there's lots of units. Okay, yeah, that looks great. That's definitely an improvement. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Very cool. Okay, that works then. So we might want to do something similar with the meteor falling. But I think so the first thing is we need to figure out why Lucy's ultimate isn't working, because it should just be pointing to an older version of Meteor, which was a rain effect. But it is now not doing that. So let's go to weapons, Lucy Meteors. Arrow, rain. So we got arrow shower effect. Well, let's give it a whirl. See what the problem is. So we did look at this, but it was the end of the day and I wasn't. Yeah, so we get. So the weapon is null. So we've made a Rainmaker. And so that has indeed gotten a weapon. So when we make a rain effect, oh, is it that bit? Will that just fix it? Because that's how we do it with, so we can collapse all the ones in between. Go up to Beanie's one. And yeah, I think it was just that. So yeah, the joys of sleep and how it makes you see the obvious, where lack of sleep will not let you see anything. I know this should be a switch case. Leave me alone. Okay. Because yeah, the arrows just felt a bit lame, but that's much more exciting now, and it works quite well.
Muy bien, cariño. Así. Vale.
Button. Okay. But just nothing is happening. Just nothing is happening. So let's look at rain effects. So we have arrows rain, and then meteor rain. Let's just give it the same stats and just double check that the where is meteors? Lucy meteors. This is just the meteors one. effect. Oh, okay, if it's an item, I see. Now, we could do something a bit different, but yeah, no, I think Meteors is good. Meteors is fine. And the thing is, I had it working, but then I changed Meteor into this singular thing. But then I was hoping that if I had the old version of the weapon, okay, so the AoE effect is null. Okay, I'm gonna like hopefully save the fact that I've so I don't have to close that message each time. Okay, so the rain effect is null. Okay, so I see. So this is Lucy Meteors.effect prefab. So we're going to want to actually just set that. So we go weapons. Go meteor. So we would want, I guess, just somewhere here. Let's just do public rain effect meteor rain. Okay, and then that would point to, because yeah, I think the current version, so that's just going to be some silly like connection that needs to be made. So normal meteor. That's the meteor falling effect. Okay, I see, I see. And then, but that's pointing to, that is pointing to a droplet, but what we want is the rain effect. So yeah, this lovely, lovely Bella spaghetti. So this might do it. This is just the old setup. Oops. That's more like it. Quite a lot of them. But, you know, so how do we tune that? So when we say frequency, so I think we copied the frequency of the arrows, but we can go to something a bit less, because the meteors, I think, are a bit stronger. So we could go to something like, yeah, let's just go all the way there and just check that. And we can worry about balancing later. Like, basically, we're going to have a big run of balancing. I do need to basically run through each weapon now and start to balance at scale. And I think I'll probably do a similar thing to what I did with the characters, where I use constants. So I sort of say, like, almost like an algorithmic way of modifying weapons. So, for example, each faction has like a main weapon. Okay, yeah, that's a bit more reasonable. It's not too many. Each faction has a like a special sort of, it's the faction that, it's the like a sword that bears the element of their faction. And those should all be kind of on par with each other. Those should all be like the same in terms of damage and range and all that stuff. Like, they should, you know, they should match. So it's not like one is way more powerful than the others. Like, and so if I take the Flame of the West, the fire sword from the human faction, that should be just as good as the Demon Greatsword, and the, you know, they should just be just as good as each other, but have different strengths and weaknesses, but still be on par. And then those should be on par with other weapons, of course, like other tier 2 weapons. And like, so I noticed in my last play session that what was it, Flame of the West, so we go weapons. I think probably the damage is too high. So just for starters, I can just bring each of these numbers down by 4. But it's difficult to tell, because I think one of the reasons that the damage was so... And then that would have to kind of reflect on all the other ones. It's difficult to tell because I was getting buffs from knocking people back. So it could be that just that was a bit too overtuned. And so, yeah, because it just had such absurdly high knockback. And I liked that. So what was happening is I would go and attack a bunch of units. Oh, wait, that's... Yeah, Quake Hammer. Did I just edit that? No. So I would attack a bunch of units. So where's that shot up to... I definitely didn't do that on purpose. So yeah, you have knockback buff, right? and then you go and hit a bunch of units, and then you basically get all of the buffs, which makes you insane, you and your entire army, like, insanely strong for 4 seconds, and then you do it again before it's even worn off. I like that. That should happen, but only with the specific, like, mega knockback weapon. And so, yeah, I think Flame of the West was tuned really high. Yeah, 40. I mean, it's not that high. But Quake Hammer, it should happen with that. Like, you have intentionally, or otherwise, you've got the ultimate knockback weapon, and you've got an artifact which procs on knockback. That should be popping off. And then there's other things to consider. So I was just really OP in that run. There's other things to consider there, which is like, yeah, buffs of the same type stacking. So, and I can't remember. I think I left it like that because I wanted like random buff to be balanced, and when there were fewer factions, fewer buffs in total, like you would just keep getting the same buff. And then they wouldn't stack with each other, so it would just overwrite each other or just not appear. But now I think I do need to make it so that a buffs of the same type, like if you get a stronger one, it should just overwrite the old one rather than adding to it. And so we're going to see all kinds of weird balancing things. So for example, if we have this situation of proccing a lot of buffs, that it doesn't make you too OP. It doesn't make you ridiculously OP. So we're getting into the balancing stage, which is like great because that means that we've done a lot of the boring stuff. The balancing is fun. It's just I kind of want to stack the balancing, but yeah, this is definitely true. Lucy Ultimate not working. Object pooling for chain effects. That's not a pressing issue. So Lucy Ultimate is now working. We can take that off the list. Object pooling for chain effects is like that's going to be just a very subtle improvement to optimization. I think, yeah, check looter artifacts. So why did I want to check looter artifacts? So are they even happening? Did I just forget to put them in the game? No. So it's on the item. Okay, it is just there. I just didn't see it. So, okay, so I just wanted to check that they're there, but there's no reason to not assume that that's working. We'll get to that once we get a looter buff. Like, and so that goes with combine. That goes with So that's all I wanted to check. I will shuffle object pooling for chain effects down because that's just going to be like, I mean, if I do it perfectly, there shouldn't be any issues, and we will put that here. Check death rattles are shown in the encyclopedia. God, again, another really minor one, but not difficult to do. So if we take to restart and do that. So yeah, we want to just check that the bomber is showing that he has a death rattle and like what that does, so that players have all the information. I will do that from in-game because that's where we have all the connections made. The bomb. No, we don't show death rattles. So obviously I can check that in code as well. So is it encyclopedia? Okay, so that's just in the options menu. Character. Open hero. About just open character. Does that not just apply to all characters? Should that not just apply to all characters? Okay, so where do we show characters? Open upgrade. I guess what we could do is like starting upgrades, and then we can go if upgrade.ally.deathrattle is not equal to null. Do this again, and we're going to copy some stuff here, but that's fine. It's lean enough code. So we go all right, let's make it colors dot gray, and then ideally I would like have a little label appear above that says death rattle, or maybe the language is clear enough. If it's in the description, you can see this black icon say, that's the death rattle, and it has the name. So yeah, maybe we don't need that. So upgrades.get upgrade. But it's an upgrade. Could it not just be a weapon? Do we have to have an upgrade to show the weapon? So like upgrade.weapon. So the death rattle is always a weapon. But that is a death rattle, so we don't need to get that. We've got that. Dot, can we say dot weapon? No, we can't. So there's a couple ways around this. We could make a button type that is not looking at an upgrade, it's looking at a weapon instead. Or we make sure every death rattle has an associated upgrade just for this purpose. But then how do we even access that? We would have to say get upgrade of the same name. So we could, yeah. So it might be better to just have like a like equals. And then if you press it, it wouldn't actually take you anywhere. We're just showing clearly that it has the death rattle. I mean, maybe this isn't necessary. It's in the description. It would be in the description. Oh. Okay. And then it just doesn't take you anywhere. So on encyclopedia button, I guess what I would want to do is just disable it. I mean, again, like, it is a bit fiddly, all of this. There's that always that part of me that just wants to kind of like get the game done and then so I can move on to the next game. But that's the mistake I've made before. I need to stick with it a bit longer. Okay. Factions, green beans, allies, bomber, and there he has explosion, scimitar we can check, and then that takes us back to weapons. And then just clicking on that just does nothing. Whereas what we would like is for it to, or it resets the transform. We could kind of cheese it by saying so when we make this death rattle, we say and then what that should do is just make the button do nothing with fiddling around here. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to focus too much on this because I think we might do like big UI overhauls. And I just want it to be like represented somewhere in here. I mean, it's just something I thought of and I was like, yeah, okay, that should probably be the case. we should probably be able to see the death rattle of a character. And then, yeah, it would be nice to be able to click on it and see like how much damage does that death rattle do, you know. I mean, like with this game, you're not going to be doing like hard maths to figure out which is, you know, to figure out like the details of each of these things. Where's our Banshee? There she is. She's got Frost Explosion, and then if we click on Frost Explosion, it just basically does nothing. But if we click on one of her things, then yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to worry about this text overlap because we are going to overhaul UI. I just want to kind of get everything else done first. Or just get the, yeah, it's just because the UI overhaul is like, that's me sitting down and really kind of zoning in and doing a proper session of UI design, which is, you know, not easy. Yeah, talents. So, okay, talents icon. So what I need to do is I actually do need to make an upgrade for the each death rattle. So I'll just kind of like, I don't know if I'm, because I don't think we have explosion here. No. Explosion is a weapon. So we will need to, like, yeah, it's just the easier way to sort this out. So we'll do death rattles. And at the moment there's just two. There is, so where would we take, like, so a weapon is, explosion. How do you, what is it, an explosion? An explosion. Come back to this later. We'll do like a full run right towards the end where we just make sure all of the weapon is indeed called explosion. Yeah. No prereqs. Not combined. Faction is null. And then we just have another one, as long as it shares the name of Frost Explosion. As long as it shares the name of the thing. Then we should be able to, like, then navigate to, okay, so then in options menu, so here, if the death rattle upgrade equals and then if we click on it, it should take us to a page that gives us more information about it, which would be nice. And yeah, silly little thing, quite time consuming, no one's really going to care or notice unless the game does well. In which case they'll want to make sure, like, cause if they're not liking the game anyway, then they're not going to care that they can't navigate to the death rattle stats via the encyclopedia. But you know, let's why not have this feature, eh? Lovely. Okay, so we'll need a sprite for that. So in upgrades, yeah, we're getting the sprite from the weapon. So the weapon should be, so equals, I don't know, icicle sprite. Wait, no, it would be frost buff sprite. And this would be, like, we could just use the fireball sprite, but it would have to be the actual, oh god, it would have to be the actual, can we just use flame buff sprite? Okay, and as far as I know, from memory, frost sprite is not, is missing. So in weapons, right down to the bottom. Oh, it is there. Nice. Flame. Oof. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. An electrified buff. Yeah, good. Nice. Alright. So, I'm confident that that works. So that's where we're at with this game, is at the moment just lots of little silly things to fix before we get onto like a real visual improvement. And then so, options menu, talents, sprite. And is that just missing? We just don't have a sprite for talents. Lovely. Good. Okay. We just don't have a sprite for talents. Okay. So just looking at that. So that would be options. Talent sprite. And I think that can just be good old armor. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so to do that. Options canvas on the prefab, so then it works across all of them. Okay, looking good. So now we should have a talent sprite. Okay, I'm not even going to bother checking that. If it shows up again, I'll address it then. Check death rattles are shown in the encyclopedia. Okay, so then we have this one here, which is just something I thought of and noticed, which is that whenever we play a sound, we are so like, yeah, so it'd be character controller, damage, SFX, damage sound, damage clip, play SFX. and we kind of have like volume X. So like that, like that's very minor. That's just multiply a thing, but that's happening every single time a sound is played. Whereas really what we want to do is set the volume when we change the volume. God, this is really fiddly and probably not necessary. Obviously, if the game is suffering from optimization, we can always make it better, but I don't think this is necessary, because it's going to mean that, so if we go in options menu, update volume, and like here we get into really messy territory. So yeah, update volume, master volume slider, and then that'll do something, set volume, yeah. Alright, well, I'll be right back. Right, so I'm going to put this down to, so in SFX, like, yeah, we play, so I think that one of the things is that this works because we're instantiating objects, so that just every time we play, did I not? SFX Yeah, it's just that's like... Ideally, what we should be doing is when we instantiate an object, we set its volume. And then when we update the volume, so where was that? When we set the volume, we find each and every object that plays a sound and update that. However, we do not have any issues with optimization. The game is quite nicely optimized. So this would require me to make sure that I'm using object. So we're never using instantiation. We're always using object pooling. And that we're yeah, so I'm going to make a little thing below Bullet Fest, which is optimizations. Because I just kind of want to focus on getting, you know, like this is really like, it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. If I was a producer working for a publisher or something, I'd be like, don't fucking bother with that. If that's going to cost me, you know, however much in expensive developer time, don't do it. Is the game suffering? Don't do it then. Okay. Yeah, we should definitely have a tutorial on how talents work. As in just saying one time at the beginning, talents apply to everyone. I might have done that already. Tutorial. Talent scene. Okay, so does this show up? I need to double check. So this turns to double check that talents are seen. So we'll reset the save. Just lower the volume. So when is this trigger? So weapon. Okay. Okay, so we are explaining that. I mean, it could be tidied, but you know, we can address that. So we kind of play test early on. Blocking should have much bigger effect. Yes. So, because yeah, like there was a moment where I saw my guys running into a big enemy with a couple axes, and he just did 0 damage to my army, and it felt weird, but I understood because I made the game that it was because his attacks were getting blocked and therefore weren't hitting anyone. That's the beauty of the shield characters. But we really need to like show that a bit stronger. So like the first thing we can do, block splat. Wait, hold on. Do we even have block splat? So yeah, how do we show block? So first I will do shield bearer one word. That's why we don't use strings. Yes, it's shield bearer one word. Okay. I can't even tell. I think it was there and I thought it was messy. So we do GM, we should have block. So when we make all of our bits, block splash. Okay, and then does this ever come up? Make block effect. No, that just never happens. So let's go to give that a whirl. Because yeah, I just really want to see blocks appear. And I don't think it should be just on the player. I want to see that word block showing up everywhere just to make it really damn clear. Okay, so make block effect isn't doing anything. because it's all commented out. Just want to make it really clear that a block has occurred. I don't know why the game is running so poorly. It really doesn't help that the game is running like absolute garbage. Okay. And then, yeah, block splat should be like... quite a bit bigger. So we just want it to be really obvious. So, I don't know, 5, like... And I'm really curious as to why the game is running like garbage. Okay, and so the one issue is it's not rotating properly to face the player. Bloody flies. I mean, it doesn't look horrible, but yeah, if we want it to be how it's supposed to look. Okay, what about like the sword slashes or the AoE effect? Yeah, and it's because so block splat would have to actually be an empty game object. How do I change the name of the reference there? So let's do it by hand again. So block splat, sprite renderer, 0, and then at frame 4, it's 1. Wait. What just happened? Why is this? Wait, what? Yeah. Weird. Okay. And then this not while animating. Rotation should be 90, I guess. Okay, let's just see how that works. Yeah, that should be like doing the same thing that others are doing. Okay, it seems to have disappeared. Okay, so for one thing, it's going to be quite big, I think, but let's just try that. Yep. And the sound seems to get overwritten sometimes. So when we block, what do we call the SFX for block? Is it just the weapon sound effect? So So why is it only sometimes playing? Why is it only sometimes playing? It's a bit loud. Huh. This is such spaghetti. So yeah, it should just be playing from the weapon audio source. What's going on? Should just be playing from the weapon audio source, playing the weapon sound. So then why is that not the case sometimes? I think probably because there's too many other sounds happening and I've turned that off. Well, I'm not going to worry about that now. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Make artifact sprite burst a bit smaller. So when we proc an artifact, so we go into artifacts. So yeah, we really are getting to the stage of little things. Make laser burst. Make item burst. I don't actually think it's necessarily too small. I don't know if actually know if that's necessary. Let's have a look. Okay, I have enemy hero that. Okay, so this is a big one. This was a big like design piece I came up with while I was just playing last night. It's like you could have this whole setup where you're not character versus army, like versus faction. You are character versus character, and both of you have a faction. And then the way that would work, is, yeah, when you do your character select, you've just got this other character facing you. So like you are versus one other character, and they'll be another hero who'll pop in and just have like quite high HP, and they'll pop in like every 5 minutes or so to harass you. This was, admittedly, I was a little bit libated. I was a little bit like in a funny mood. So I just think that's such a big one. Like, but yeah, you could have like a character comes in. I mean, I was thinking of it just for the story. So like, if we have a bit in the story where like 5 minutes in, your character says something, and then the enemy character that you're supposed to be fighting as part of the story says something, like they should appear for a bit, even if it's just like visually to just come and do something, and like mess with you, and then disappear. And then I thought, well, what if that was just the standard, like you're fighting against this other person's army, and then you get into all these crazy ideas of like, what if they're running off the same rules as you, so they're picking talents, they're picking upgrades, they're picking allies, and that's just totally different. So I am going to just keep that as a mental note for now. Okay. Make sure hero has own loop for attacking. Yeah, see, because I did notice points where because they like, as more stuff happens in the game, instead of the frame rate suffering, like characters just pick their targets a bit slower. But I did not want that to be the case for the hero. Okay, so that's movement. Yeah, this is all movement. So I feel that's what might have happened. So I went up to a character, and I don't mind if other characters don't attack immediately, but my character needs to attack. If I'm standing next to a dude and I've got a weapon on cooldown, I don't ever want to see that weapon not attacking. And we've already cordoned off, like, in a horrible way, we have a separate update for the hero. And that has made him effectively like, yeah, he finds his targets quicker. But then here is where we actually cool down the weapons and then make them hit once they're ready. And so I kind of maybe want to do a similar thing here where I just have a separate one for the hero. But I'm not really sure how to do that in an elegant way. So yeah. Attack time minus equals time dot delta time. If when attack timer gets to 0 and we have a target, then attack. I don't know why that's there twice, but I'm not going to mess with it. And then do your attack. That's happening in fixed update. Whereas what I could do, and because we're doing a for loop, so... yeah, that is going to mess with stuff, I think. So if the hero has their own one... We're doing a for loop because it can change before it finishes. Rather than a for each loop. And then if the collection's modified by the end, it doesn't do. So I had to. Then here it's just literally the code copy pasted. I know that's horrendous, but. Can the collection be modified here? I think it can. So we do this instead. Or either that or we make like a temporary list that is not the same one. Because what can happen is, yeah, you damage something or like, yeah, and then the list, the collection has modified. And I wish I could just say, if the next thing in the list isn't there anymore, then don't do it. But yeah, this is tricky. And then the logic for like resetting the weapon is in here. I'm going to put that later down the list because it's just not clicking for me at the moment. Yeah, hero should have own loop for attacking, not just targeting. But that is a bit tricky. Like I need to think about that quite a lot. Okay, buffs of the same type shouldn't stack. Here's a big one. And here's one that we can change. And it is messy. But this is not just a minor optimization issue. This is a big one. So add buff. So we've already got like so we've got our artifacts. Check if buff already exists. And then so we want to do something like check if buff already exists. If the buff already exists, then basically we refresh it. If the buff value is greater, then we remove the existing buff. Okay. So what I want to do is modify this so that we're not only getting rid of buffs that have the same name and removing them and replacing them, but if it has the same, if it contains the same name. So let's just keep that there. I don't want to change that. And let's just start. So I.name contains buff.name. And if it contains the name, and it's not a permanent buff, so if we found a buff here that contains the same name and it's not a permanent buff, then we remove the old buff. So if buff.value, so yeah, it's better than the old buff, then we remove the old one. If the value is the same, that means it is the same buff. Therefore, just re-extend the time. And I think it might be as simple as that. So that's almost exactly the same code. It's just we're asking if it contains the name. It's not, doesn't have to be the same name, but if it contains the same name, then it's the same buff. Just thinking, could that be problems? Like, are there buffs that like fire is in another name or something? You know, I don't think so. So if buff contains the name, and if we found one that contains the same name, then, and it's not permanent, then if it's better, remove the old one. If it's the same, then just extend the time and then stop, because we don't need to do anything else. Versus it being the exact same name. So I am going to, that's going to be easy to change. I guess what I'll do, just until I'm 100% certain that this is working, is just keep this so that when I get to it and I'm like, why isn't this working? I've got this there and I'm like, oh, maybe it's something to do with that. So it's a little note for future self. Okay, I should test that. But there's a couple more things we can do. So random buff. Yeah, so we're getting rid of this whole thing. Yeah. Because now, so it like when you cast a random buff, it doesn't have to be so upgrades. And down here we'll see generate weapon lists. Yeah. So human rain weapons, like this is like so old and unlikely to happen that if I have to rewrite that, it's not a problem. And then so how could we go like we could just do it manually. We could say, so we could make a weapon, make a list of buff weapons. We could do something like, get me all the weapons, and if they have a buff, then, so like, public static list buff weapon buff. All buffs. New list buff. And then we can do like for each weapon in, Are we really doing upgrades though? Okay, fine, let's do it here. For each upgrade in upgrades, if upgrade is weapon, so on, so on, so on. Okay, yeah, that's one thing. Let's do a quick. So, yeah, set is weapon. I know this is spaghetti, but I'll do better next time. And I'll fix it if it actually becomes a problem. Buffs dot clear. For each weapon in weapons dot weapons, yeah. If weapon dot buff is not equal to null, if weapon dot buff dot debuff is equal to false, all buffs dot add weapon dot buff. That should do it really. And that can probably live in weapons. And then it was that the demons had access to all of them. But no, I think random buff should be random buff out of all of them. And yeah, what we might have had, which might have been a bit cleaner, would have been to have like a separate thing where we actually state all buffs rather than making them on the weapon. And then when we make the weapon, we just point to those buffs that exist. That might have been better. So then we have make AoE effect. So how do we do this? We did this with a weapon, really? So in that case, and then this one was list of buffs. So get rid of this. We have buff list. So yeah, this is casting the buff. And this is like getting the buff. But I kind of don't want cast the buff. I kind of just want random buff all. Random buff all. Yeah, so there we get a list of buffs. So yeah, okay, let's not mess with that too much. So we get a list of buffs. And we could say, so what would it be? Upgrades dot all buff weapons dot buff. And what's this new list? What's that got to do with anything? Nothing, I guess. Just bad code. And then make random rain. I'm just going to delete that. Yep. And then for this cast buff, I think we probably just won't bother with it. Do we have cast? What the hell did I just do? Okay, we just delete make random rain. That's the last thing we did. Okay. Okay, that's not used. All right. So this probably it should have just been a buff list rather than a list of weapons. That's fine. Yep, dealt with that. Oh, I need to test Flame Heart. So yeah, that is a pressing one. Copy. So yeah, let's do artifacts. No, it's player controller. Flame Heart. And let's test that that's working, because it didn't look like it was working last time. It just wasn't. Okay, it's working for the hero. Oh no. Oh, what is this? Oh, I think I know what's happening then. Okay, I think I know what's happening. So I know why it's sometimes not working. It's new characters. So the characters that spawned before I got the upgrade are not applying it, but the ones that spawned after are. And that's probably just fine to leave it like that. Although if it confused me when I saw it, it's going to confuse players as well. So when we apply the upgrade, because yeah, that is the way talents work. So it's like we do it here. So it's only new characters that spawn that get the benefit of it. Is that good enough? So if I did want to make it different, so for each upgrade in player.my upgrades, so we would want to apply that to, so like we would have a script called apply talents. This is where we get into messy territory. So I think I will put this off for after a test, but yeah, we would have and then yeah, we basically apply the talent to so when we make a character we apply talents to it, but then also when we and it will so then we take all of the talents that we have and we apply it to we take all the talents that we have and we apply it to the see, I definitely should have made a class for stat, like armor is a stat, and then it's sort of easier to find. This wouldn't have had to be like a massive bit of code. I could still do that. So basically, instead of saying going through each talent by name and saying do that to it, we would have rations, which would have a stat attached, and then we just go for each talent in talents, or for each upgrade. Yeah. For each upgrade and player upgrades. This bastard, there's a big fat bastard fly. And more than one of them. Yeah, so for each talent, go through its stat But yeah, we're using the buff system. It's such spaghetti. Like, I'll do better next time. But at the moment, like, it's not a problem. It works. It's just when I say, like, oh, but what if I wanted the talent to apply? And because we're using the buff system, it should always, like not... It should, like, not stack, basically. Like, if it's already there, then it won't add it again. If it's already there, then it won't add it again. Should probably also add here. If I should be checking if buff.permanent is equal to false. Yeah. And so remove the old one. Yeah, so I'm going to have to think, like, I don't want to do, like, I'll do that after a round of testing, so so change, make talents apply to existing units, and I'll put that below one called test. Copy upgrades and okay, so this is a simple one just because it is visually striking to see. Yeah, just in the beanstalk, I just need to copy over a couple things. Is it time to use this don't destroy on load object with all the stuff? I don't know. I think that's going to be more work. I just have to do this every now and then. I have to grab GM, take upgrades and artifacts, or take upgrades, copy component, upgrades, copy component, and then take that over to Beanstalk in this case, and then just wherever I've got that, where is it? Where do we keep it? Where do we keep? We must have it here. Do we not? So when we make a leaf on the beanstalk, did I have it manually? I hope I didn't have it manually. I think I might have had it manually. Oh dear. Okay, is there a way to fix that? So yeah, the leaf. yeah, we sort of started doing that, and then we realized, there must be a better way then. So like, no, I think I have to do it manually. Okay, is that worth doing? Because I might change this whole UI. So I have to go through each one. Absolute pain in the ass. So yeah, armor 1. Image would be, okay, so I should set it, so armor 1, and then sprite would be and then I would have to reference the upgrade. I could say for each of them if it is a because we have unlock type, and so we could say if it is unlock type 2, then find me the character sprite that matches the name. But then I do have to like move the stuff in there. But I'm considering a full overhaul of this anyway. And then yeah, it's just another place that we're going to have to copy the thing into. So, so for starters, so that's achievements. So on the title screen, let's just get to the bottom of leaves. This is very long. Yeah. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. So then we would have something for each leaf in leaves. So we're just copying it over from what the profile is, or like if it's different. I can't remember what it is exactly, but never mind. So we want assign sprites. So if leaf dot unlock type, and then where do we have unlock type? Because hopefully I've given myself like a cheat sheet to know which unlock type is which. Would that be in leaves? Okay. Is that still true? Okay, so we can go not 0 is not unlock. Should be using an enum there. So 0 is not unlock. Unlock type 1 is hero. No, that must have changed. Beanie is 1. Okay. So where does it say that that's an unlock type? So attack speed 1. So we go is 2. So I would have thought. So where does it say this is unlock type 2? Oh, because that's unlocking an upgrade. Okay, so 0 is not unlock. Okay, well, for starters, like if it has the name, let's just say, like, so for each leaf in leaves. Never mind the unlock type. If leaf dot if upgrades dot, and we do have upgrades, right? Where do we store upgrades? We do have it. Have we not referenced it? So we can just have, yeah, if, so we don't need this. If upgrades dot get upgrade. Oh, come on. Okay, never mind then. Leaf does not have a definition for square. That's a starting point. Okay. So then, and then in Beanstalk, okay. Okay, let's give that a try then. See what breaks. Yeah. And then where do we reset save? Seems to have crashed Unity. Oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be like a loop because then it will... Oh dear, okay. Alright, let's just not have that then. Has it reset the save? Yes. Is this the problem that I had? Is because I have a sprite here. Okay, so we won't do that then. Because I'm trying to save a sprite. That's so annoying, but it's not impossible to overcome. So we don't make a sprite for the leaf. So when we make the thing, Yeah, it's annoying that it can't save a sprite. You could always save a reference, but I think that's not the way. So we are in Beanstalk. Apparently we don't have upgrades. But it's just going to be a nightmare because it's going to be like get the upgrade. I mean, so there is a way that I could do it. Like, so yeah, we say that a leaf has an upgrade name attached to it, and then we get, but really, like, each one is just different. Again, if we had like the stats and the stat sprites, that would be different. Yeah, I think ultimately we're looking at how's this going to work? So yeah, we would have. So we can't assign a sprite to a serializable object, but we could assign like a name of something which will match. But that's just getting too fiddly and spaghettified. I think in this case, the easier thing is just going to be for me to do it manually, which I'm not going to do just now because. But I should do it before, like, so yeah, update Beanstalk sprites, just to do it manually. I think that's going to be easier. Because yeah, it's not necessarily, like, so some of these things are not unlocks, they're upgrades, so like you just get extra attack speed on your hero. So that, yeah, that would naturally match to the attack speed talent, but it is not unlocking the attack speed talent. That's a different thing. So it would have to be and yeah, if I reference upgrades, I have to put upgrades into the scene. I mean, that's not a big deal. Upgrades, weapons, and characters. And then that's where we get to just having this GM as a non-destructible object. So make GM don't destroy on load, and then or like so basically I could do it half right. That's my thinking, right? So I could, it's not like this can't be done properly. It's just to do it properly would require quite a bit of refactoring. Like really, GM as in the thing that has weapons, characters, items, upgrades, all of that. That shouldn't be on the same thing that's doing this, right? So that's kind of like a big error. Like the GM is kind of associated to like, here's the object that runs the game. Whereas what we want is, here is the object that has all of the information on it, and that doesn't destroy on load. So make, and this is a big one. So I'll put it after bullet fests. It's not a priority for that. So make a script which has all the upgrades, weapons, etc. on it that doesn't destroy on load, and separate that from the GM, the game manager. and use that, and then that would allow us to quite easily make the beanstalk sprites just like if it's, oh, this one does armor, it's not the armor talent but it gives you more armor, okay, we'll point to that. And then you think, okay, well, properly would be that armor is a stat, and a stat has an associated sprite, and we would follow that. So it's like there's no point in me and then that we really are talking about a massive refactoring, which would have basically zero impact on the game, zero impact on optimization. The only thing it might do is reduce my workload moving forward, except it might be more work to do that than to just work with my own mistakes. So, and I have like, you can get stuck in this kind of thing forever. So yeah, make talents apply to existing units. That is not a priority. So that can go after Bullet Fest. Copy upgrades and artifacts. Okay, so that's where we got stuck. Use object pooling for chain effects. That is an optimization which is not needed at the moment. We are not lacking optimization. And it's kind of... this one is dependent on this one, so this should come first. Buffs being removed. Okay, this is a big one. And this is a fairly big one. Yeah, that's fine. Does anyone have Blizzard? I think Atisalef has Blizzard. No, what's her name? Yeah. So we might want a similar rain effect for Blizzard. But we'll test that. And we're going to kind of go through all of the ultimates and make sure that they all, like, you can just really tell they're happening. So I can do this. And I could kind of do it dynamically. So so this will be the next thing for later today. So in the ramparts, I'll have to unlock the ramparts. In the ramparts, there's just like what looks like a wave of enemies coming from below, and it's just these green circles, which assumes that you're fighting against the green beans. Because, yeah, we're looking down at this approaching army. So let's just looking at the sprite. Where is it, for starters? Horde. It's just that. It's just that moving towards the player in it, and this tiles. So... what I would do, for starters, is I would make this grayscale, and then I can, like, oh, this should be the same color. That should be the same color. And then maybe make it a bit thicker, or I could even like go much further and then basically this would, like, I change the color based on who you're fighting. But then that's kind of like stage glow up. So I'm gonna put that in stages. So that puts standard visuals out. We've done a few things there, and then we're not using Storm Cloud, we're using... Wait, Storm Cloud. I haven't even tested that one. So Storm Cloud. Yeah, it creates these little storm clouds. It's a bit like meteors, but then that can replace meteor. Yeah, so we need to improve the visuals of storm cloud. Okay, so first thing would be to test that. So yeah, we've got our work cut out for us, but we are getting through the stuff. I think when I come back at 1, we'll start by doing a little playthrough as Beanie, and then we'll see where we go from there. And then, yeah, some animation. Make sure hero has only for attacking. Bust being removed properly is a question. Those are big coding ones, which would be tomorrow, if anything. But I will start working on the ultimate effects. And that should be my next major goal is, okay, all of the ultimate abilities should look and feel nice. So... yeah, completely finish ultimate abilities, like fully. Okay, and then we'll see where that leaves us. All right, thanks for everyone who joined today. Not many people at all, I think just 1 or 2, but appreciate it very much. Thank you. And I will be back today at 1 p.m. Cheers, bye.